Should we take him back to the hospital? I was incredulous. No, that's my brother. You can't give him back. And so it was decided. He was my brother, my sidekick, my bud. He would sneak under the kitchen table and steal my doggy slippers. He always loved dogs, and I would love him anyways. After we moved up to Middletown, we'd hide out under our front porch together, pretending our plane had crashed on Mount Everest, and we had to figure out how to survive. We both fell in love with adventures and traveling as kids, our childhood filled with memories of long road trips and new places to explore. I've been so thankful the past few days looking over pictures and just remembering all the things that we got to experience together. Once we got older, we would spend hours just daydreaming together about the other places that we wanted to visit and the adventures that we wanted to have. This past week, my mind has been full of all the places that we dreamed of going together but never quite made it to. And I've wished again and again and again and again that we had just one more chance to make a memory together. In 2013, Keith and I finally took our first solo trip together, sans parents. The two of us very excitedly flew out to San Francisco. We rented a car and we drove down Route 1, feasting like the foodies we were, jaws dropping at the scenery, laughing and exploring the whole way. Keith, always the creative spirit, wanted to stop at every bend in the road for pictures. I'd take a few, I like pictures, be done, and then watch as he pressed on for what felt like forever to capture the full beauty of the most mundane things. I loved that about him. He could see beauty where I only saw rocks. I remember him finding old plywood and paint in our basement one Christmas, and he made us all these beautiful abstract snowy tree paintings. I think there's one down there, and gave us all them for Christmas. He'd call me on the phone from Denver and tell me about all of his Goodwill finds, the amazing script concept he'd come up with, something bizarrely delicious that he'd concocted for dinner, or any one of the other 100 new creative things that he had just taken up. Boundless in energy, the only thing he loved more than creativity and adventures was the people that he got to do them with. I'll never forget going to visit him and being introduced 100 times over to his never-ending stream of friends. Hi, friend, he'd see someone and run across the room and give them a big hug, and I'd tag along behind to get introduced, and we were always laughing about how different we were. Me, the tried and true introvert, and him, the eternal extrovert. But his heart's what I love the most. He was kind and compassionate, tender to his core, wanting more than anything else to make those he loved the most happy. In 2012, after a few especially hard years, he'd come down to visit me in Virginia, and we were sitting down to dinner in the midst of a really hard conversation. And he tenderly opened up to me and he said, Vanessa, I have to share something with you, but I'm not sure if I want to share it because I think you're going to be really excited to hear it. Okay, go ahead. And so he shared with me about a dream that he had, where God had come to him in his dream and told him that he should return to church and that he would find what he was looking for there. Well, my mind spun at the goodness of God to speak to him in such an insanely direct way. I certainly never had a dream like that. first with pride at his tenderness and his vulnerability and sharing. I watched with tear-stained cheeks over the next many months as Jesus wooed Keith out of a bitter place and into freedom. I think experiencing him fall in love with God has been truly the greatest privilege of my life. The name Keith means from the place of battle or brave. And I don't know anyone braver. He was the little brother I'd send out in the woods in front of me to test for snakes. He was the one scrambling up waterfalls and chasing after wildlife with my dad, while I stood nervously on the sidelines and pretended like I didn't know them to all the tourists who would ask me, "Who are those crazy people?" He would drag us all down the double black diamond slopes, thrilled for the adventure, and insisting on how fun it would be to do it together. We'd go along, he'd take the jumps, and I would snowplow my way down through the trees half on my rear until we got to something a little bit more my speed. And he was brave in the big things too. Somehow life just always seemed a little bit harder for Keith. Some babies never cry. Keith had colic for 9 months. Some children breezed through school. Keith fought tooth and nail for every grade. Some transitioned relatively easy into adulthood. Keith attended 3 high schools, 3 colleges, and spent the last few months wrestling deeply with not yet having found his place in the world. I don't share these things to highlight his struggles, but to showcase his strength. If you didn't know him well, you might have missed this. His friends remember him as being endlessly optimistic, always the encourager, and he was. But he fought for those things, and Keith fought to the end. And now, as I've processed this week, I know, and we know, that Keith truly, as his name says, has come from the place of battle, and he's entered victory. He's left the place of struggle, and he's entered the place of perfect peace. He's heard the Father say, "Well done." He's unclenched his fist from the battle, and he's been welcomed into endless joy. I imagine that he's spending his days exploring the furthest reaches of heaven, dancing his way through the shining streets with a joyous "Hi, friend," to every saint and angel he passes. But I'm so thankful you're there.